In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit, one God.
Amen. Amen.
Lord, I shall open my lips and my mouth shall declare thy praise. Good morning.
Good morning.
To enjoy this feast and the Sunday, and to wrap your mind, and that is the physical mind and the spiritual mind, the nous, around it. I think we must participate in the full liturgical cycle of the event. And that means Saturday. Saturday night, Saturday evening, in Vespers, we read 3 readings from the Old Testament. And we read them for a good reason. They help us understand the feast. So I think if you think about it, developing in your spiritual life and growth, the ability to attend Vespers would be quite useful and helpful for our spiritual growth. Understanding the reading and getting ourselves into the mindset of the church is one of the most important things. We grow up in a culture that feeds us the most powerful theology, telling us we're Americans, we can do whatever we want. How many of you heard this one for the first time? How many of you use it frequently, day in and day out? You don't need to raise your hand. It's a rhetorical question. I was in Denver one day and I asked rhetorical questions, and I had people raising hands at me. I said, it's rhetorical. Rhetorical question is, it's a question for you to ponder, to think about. This is the kind of mindset we have grown up with. We think about our freedom over anything else that we possess. Everything that shapes you and me is the sense of freedom. God gave us a sense of freedom. It's a very important sense of freedom, but also with that comes responsibility. Responsibility, obedience, and humility. And sometimes when we push the idea that we have so much freedom, I'm free, I can do anything I want to, it means I have no limits, no limitation, no one can say anything to me. Right? No one can say anything to you. But I think to have a balanced life with the love and the pursuit of freedom and liberty, we must understand the responsibility that lies ahead in our ontological being. Who we are and what we stand for. How many of us claim and proclaim that you're Christian? All of you. And that's why you're here. If you're not Christian, you won't be coming to church. Or perhaps you may be interested in the faith, and you're interested in becoming a Christian. You may come to church, but you have a body of knowledge that you have acquired, and you say, maybe this is a place that I can find my true religion. Well, you're Christian. What does it mean to you to be Christian? What's the meaning of your Christianity? There are 2 people that must define that, or 3 people must define that. You must define it for yourself, what it means for you to be Christian. You really have to understand what kind of quality you ought to have in order for you to feel that you are Christian. Another word, also, there is another person in the dynamic that the other person must affirm the fact of your claim. Of your claim of your Christianity. If you claim to be Christian, would my relative or my friend or the society I live in can confirm my claim of being Christian? The third one, can God affirm me as being one of his followers? Can God affirm that all the claims I made, is it really consistent with what he has taught? Because after all, to name yourself after him, he sets the criteria. I don't set the criteria for you. I don't set the criteria for myself either. He sets the criteria. So, in other words, is he the one that can affirm whether I'm Christian or not? Can I still make that claim and have it confirmed by him and those around me? Would you be willing to vouch that I am making the claim I'm Christian, and you would agree with it? Yes, he is Christian. Or you would say, perhaps he is a phony Christian, not a real Christian. Or someone that talks about Christianity, and he knows a lot about Christianity, but really, he's not Christian. Whatever claim we make, whatever claim anyone makes, it has to be confirmed by someone. Without two witnesses, according to the law of the legal system, without having two witnesses, nothing is correct. But if you have at least two people that testify and witness that whatever you say is correct, the law would take it into a serious consideration. It means probably there is a strong chance of validity in that. So, we read in the Old Testament yesterday about Abraham. That Abraham had in his household a very unique number, about 318, including his nephew Lot and his family. There were 318 people. That number is so significant in the recovery of what he lost. The king of Syria came and kidnapped 318 people of his household. Well, Abraham loves his family. He gathered his fighting machine and went back to Damascus and claimed all of his family members and brought them back. And this is the time when he comes back and he meets Melchizedek, the one who's king, who's a priest, high priest, unknown origin. He comes and he gives him a tithe of everything that he gained back and returned and gave it to Melchizedek. But the number that sticks out, the number 318. Today we celebrate the feast of the first fathers of the first ecumenical councils. And miraculously, the number is 318. I don't think the Holy Fathers, when Constantine called the meeting, called the ecumenical council, said, you know, I found in the scripture a number 318, and we're going to only invite 318 bishops to come and be part of the incredible, important, historical ecumenical council that we're about to have. Initially, it was supposed to be in the city of Constantinople, but ended up being in Niza. Needless to say, he invited all the bishops to come, and 318 of them showed up. There were more bishops, but only 318 bishops came and been part of it, which is the vast majority of the bishops at that time. Now in Russia alone, there are thousands of bishops. Thousands of bishops. Incredible. But the miracle of the 318, it resonates with the history in the church, the history of Abraham and the recovery. And then the fact that Abraham's family was very important to him. And the church family is very important to us. The history of all those men that vested their lives in the love of the church, their number is very significant. And what they say and what they stand and how they define their own faith. The First Ecumenical Council was about the definition of our faith. Where do you get the Nicene Constantinople Creed? The one that you recite every single day. Every single day, in every single service, we recite it. I believe in one God, the Father Almighty, maker of heaven and earth. That comes from the First Ecumenical Council in 325, in which they define the faith. In which they said, this is what it means for us to be Orthodox Christians. This is what it means for us to find the world affirm, and for the world to know that we affirm this faith, this universal faith. Very important to them. Very important to them. You read in the book of Acts this morning, Subdeacon read to you, chapter 21. And I don't know how many of you really grasp what was being read. It starts with 16. I want to read it to you. And I want to quiz you about what you got, what you understood. For Paul had decided to sail past Ephesus so that he would not have to spend time in Asia. In those days, Asia was primarily Turkey. And today, we know Asia Minor is Turkey. The world was known in that portion as Asia. For he was hurrying to be at Jerusalem, if possible, on the day of Pentecost. Remember that? Probably not. His whole identity that shapes him, very important appointment. How many of you regard your appointments significant? It's very important when you make an appointment to show up, right? It's very important to have a calendar. If you have a calendar, I know people can't function without a calendar. If they don't put in a calendar, absolutely, it'll never be remembered. But whatever you write it down, or not write it down, or keep it committed to memory, you have a calendar. You live by a calendar. You know what you're doing tonight after you leave here, right? You have it all planned. It's on your calendar. You know exactly when you leave in town. You know what time you have to leave. To Paul, it was the same thing. He wanted to be where? In Jerusalem. before, preferably, or no later than being on the day of Pentecost. His Christian faith dictates to him to hold to a calendar, to faith. That means his faith has to be interpreted and his faith has to have meaning. And his faith requires appointments. And when they had come to him, he said to them, "You know, from the first day that I came to Asia, in what matters I always lived among you." Remember that in the reading? In what manner I lived among you. That's what defines us. Where do you live? How close do you live to the church? And is the church on your radar? Is your church on your GPS? I love those new technology today. The new technology I have on my phone, it tells me how long it takes me to go home and how long it takes me to come to church. And it tells me that the traffic sometimes is good and sometimes is not so good. Isn't that wonderful? And if there's a place I frequent, like a hardware store, it tells me how long it's going to take me to get there. What are you trying to tell me? I need to go there? I don't. I think we need one to remind us we need to be in church. Now, look on your phone. What is all of you have? You're all high-tech. I know you. I've seen you. I live with you. I eat with you. I mean, you're so smart. You're so technologically engaged. You use all those stuff. Does your phone tell you how far you're from the church? If it doesn't, maybe it's time to redefine yourself. And get your phone to tell you. And get your phone to tell you it's time to go to church. Get your phone to tell you it's time to get up early so you can be at church on time. Get your phone to tell you that there are some other services that I think it would behoove you to commit yourself to coming. Technology is wonderful, and it's helping define who we are. But, you know, before technology defines you, we define ourselves. Technology does only what we determine to do. My technology knows how I am wired now. My technology was telling me how long it's going to take me to drive from the Antiochian village back here. It did. It told me how soon I need to get up and get going. But all that decision was up here, and it caught on what I do. It learned my pattern. It discovered my pattern of living. So what is your technology is telling you today? Who are you? Is your faith evident? Or you're undefined? Let's all be defined of who we are. and commit to the life in that church. In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy